Hey everyone, this is Andrew at Plainview Farm, and if you saw my community post last week, you'll know that I've been away from the farm for a little bit. My family and I took a trip out west. Went to a family reunion in the great state of Washington. By the way, hi Jim. When we got back home, within a few short days, I had a sinus infection, which is always nice. And the whole time we were gone, it was really hot and dry. The good news is, over the last few days, we've had a few inches of rain. So we've gone from dry, crunchy grass to green grass once again. But we've also ended up with a huge mess over in the pig pen. As you can see, it's absolutely a mess. My plan is to get a bunch of wood chips in here to create a deep bedding pack for all these pigs. At least until I'm ready to train these piglets to electric fence and bring everybody out. Speaking of being out, these are Scarlett's 4 babies. They're growing pretty well. And these are Curly Sue's. They're growing well also. Scarlett's babies keep getting out by, well, jumping through the holes in this panel right here. Let's get back where we belong. Come on. Back where we belong. Let's go. Come on, buddy. I just want you to go back where you belong. There we go. I'm sure that'll last about 10 seconds. Now this area here where I'm housing the breeding stock, honestly, it isn't much. And it's only meant to be temporary. I actually have a plan to try to come up with something a little bit more permanent in the future. But this was kind of a makeshift operation, so you do what you can with what you have. One of the things I did planning to be gone on our trip was I built these feeder boxes for these pigs. There are 3 of them. They're not pretty at all, but again, they get the job done, and that's really all that matters. As you can see, it's a fairly simple design. It's just a long shape. It's about 36 inches tall. It's 24 or so at the bottom, this length right here. And then I cut an angle down inside of it. If you look here, actually right down here we have the feed hits another piece of plywood that is on an angle, so it will fall down into the feeding area. And then I have this piece right here that kind of helps restrict flow, at least when the feeder is full. I put around 100 pounds of feed in each one of these feeders whenever we got ready to leave, and it lasted almost the entire time we were gone, which was a little over a week. My stepdad was taking care of the animals while we were gone, and I think he only had to put feed in these feeders one time. Now for the other pigs, I just filled this large self-feeder behind me here with about 600 pounds of feed, which has lasted them about 2.5 to 3 weeks. I also set up automatic waterers for the animals, and the heifers that I've got in this pen out here, I gave them a little bit of hay, and again, they've got an automatic waterer as well. The cows, the goats, and the donkeys, they were all on the other side of the property where they have a pond, and they had plenty of space over there to roam around and graze on whatever they wanted to. And there seems to be this feeling that if you're a farmer, you can never ever leave the farm. That's just not true. There are things that can be done if you have to leave, or if you want to go somewhere with your family like I did. If I get the chance, I'll try to talk about that a little bit more in a future video. Let me get a couple quick scoops of feed for those heifers really quick. I also need to grab this, which I'm going to explain in just a moment. So we will dump this out for those heifers. So if you remember Darla, the bottle calf, she's gonna try to chew on my wife's shirt. This is Darla. Darla has had Pinkeye, and she had Pinkeye before we left for our vacation, so we gave her a shot of antibiotic, and we're getting ready to give her another shot now because, well, she's performing about like you would expect a calf to perform whenever they have an infection. If you look at her, you can see how thin she is. Now, if you remember earlier videos, if you saw them whenever Darla was born, she was almost immediately rejected by her mother. She didn't get very much colostrum, if she got any at all. So I kind of expected that things might go this way if she were to get sick, that, you know, we'd have to watch her maybe more so than we do other cows. And like I said, we've already given her 1 dose of antibiotic, oxytetracycline, I think is what it is. And that was a couple weeks ago, and we're gonna give her another dose right now. If you can see her eye, you can see that it is inflamed. You know, it's not as bad as it, you know, would be if we didn't treat her, but it's still irritated. It's still, you know, giving her trouble. You can see there's a lot of weeping going on right there, and the eye has actually got a pink color. Fortunately, there's no, you know, large blister or anything like that on there, but there is an infection there. So the dosage for this kind of thing is based on weight. We made an estimate about what we think she weighs, and I think I probably guessed light on the first shot, which is probably why I'm having to give her a second one. Normally, a second shot wouldn't be necessary, so I think that was an error on my part whenever we gave her the first shot. So this antibiotic is to be injected. You can either do it in the muscle or just below the skin, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to inject this just below the skin on her neck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the skin right here. She may try to move whenever I run the needle in it. And there we go. Now we're just going to push it in.
Good girl.
And we're going to rub that spot.
Good girl.
Put the cap back on the needle. That's always important. You don't want to give yourself a shot or jam the needle in your hand. But she did really well, obviously there. She did good. Yeah, she's ready to go. She doesn't like that. So hopefully I did a better job guessing her weight this time and getting the dosage correct enough to get her back on the right track. And I know there are a lot of people out there who are opposed to any kind of antibiotics, any kind of medication whenever it comes to livestock. However, if the medication, just like you, if you get sick, you know, if you get an infection, specifically one that is in your eye socket, you know, has the potential of migrating other places, such as your brain, you know, you're probably going to want to get some medication for that. So if one of my animals is sick, I'm going to treat them, just simply because that's the humane thing to do. So to let them suffer and potentially die if the infection were to spread, I don't want to take that chance. And so, like I said, as much as I hate to use antibiotics, hate to use medication, whatever it may be, on the animals, I'm going to try to do what's in their best interest. And also want to point out that sometimes even when you do treat the animals for an illness, they still don't get over it, based on any host of reasons. So, like I said, hopefully with Darla in this situation, I gave her the correct dosage and she'll be able to recover fairly quickly. I mentioned before that there are things you can do when you're away from the farm to try to make things easier on the animals and potentially on the folks that are helping you out when you're away. But there's always things that you have to do in order to try to get caught up whenever you return. And that's what we've been up to for the last couple weeks. So that's going to do it for this one. I hope you found this video enjoyable. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please be sure and hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. And we'll see you next time.